Hey, I know it's been a while, but welcome back for some more X-Files. Today we're continuing where we left off with the episode Max, episode 18 of season 4. Max continues with the agents still investigating what caused that airliner to go down, as those little rascals in the government do all they can to cover it up. We pick back up with Mulder in the lake after discovering an alien body. And what are these lights? Could it be more aliens? Nah, just some military guys come to cover everything up. Mulder is generally good at getting himself out of situations like this, but all the swimming must have tired him out because he's caught almost immediately. Remember the good old days when he could outrun horses? Meanwhile, Scully's dealing with the fallout of Pendrell's shooting, and for a few quick seconds, because of the spilled drinks and color of the floor, I thought Pendrell had alien blood. What if he's secretly a hybrid? Pendrell shouldn't have too much to worry about though. I mean, Scully is a medical doctor.
He's an FBI agent, and he's not gonna die.
No, I think Pendrell has a long future ahead of him in the FBI. And because it's been a while, Scully has to remind us that she has brain cancer. Wow, Skinner sure was quick. He decided to stop by and wish Scully a happy birthday, and let her know Mulder is in big trouble for getting in the way of the downed airliner investigation. When isn't Mulder in trouble? Scully picks up Mulder and he tells her the military is now claiming Sergeant Frisch gave bad coordinates to the fighter pilot, causing him to crash into the airliner, because it definitely was not a UFO that they were trying to shoot down. That would be ridiculous. Surprisingly, even Scully is a little skeptical of the whole thing. Generally, she would just go along with whatever the official narrative was, but I think she's starting to come around.
These look like radiation burns. Where did you get that?
Radiation burns? They look like nasty pimples to me. Mulder tells her he got these burns from the UFO in the lake. And what makes me laugh is as soon as he says it was a UFO, Scully takes in this big breath like, here we f***ing go again. We also learn Max's sister Sharon isn't actually his sister. She's some nutcase that was in and out of institutions, which is where she met Max.
Mulder, Agent Pendrell is dead.
Could we not have been with Pendrell when he died? He pretty much saved Scully. Could we not have seen her with him at the hospital or something? Scully sort of just drops that Pendrell died saving her, and Mulder's like, oh, that's awful. Anyways, want to show me those mosquito bites again? I know Pendrell was just a small side character, but what a crappy way to go out. Mulder and Scully go to Max's trailer to look for something. Giants from outer space take robot for walkies in a Russian park? Not the weirdest thing I've read today.
So, just my luck that I'd eventually become an alien abductee. Now I'm never alone.
I actually feel really bad for Mulder. He and Max aren't too dissimilar from one another. Both have experienced things that make them sound crazy and that no one would ever believe. And I think Mulder genuinely cared for Max. And it's pretty obvious that Mulder and Max have been right this whole time, because what the hell is that? Looks like the military found what they were looking for and Geraldo isn't happy.
There was one man who knew what brought this plane down, and he knew it even before he got on the plane, but he got on anyway.
The agents meet back up with Mike so Mulder can tell him an elaborate story about what he thinks really happened to the flight. Basically, Max had something that would prove the existence of extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrial.
Aliens abducted him mid-flight, and the military shot the UFO down, which in turn killed everyone. Still, not as weird as space robots going for walks in a Russian park. With nothing more to go on, they decide to speak with Sharon, who's currently at the crazy house, because she was the closest to Max, even if she wasn't actually his sister.
I'd go with you, but I'm afraid they'd lock me up.
Me too.
I don't think she was joking. While Scully's off doing that, Mulder decides to scope out Max's trailer again, but it looks like someone beat him to the punch. Mulder's handed Max's mail, but can you go through someone's mail even if they're dead? Living dead doesn't stop Mulder. I think that's the proof of purchase needed for the ultimate gaming rig contest. Meanwhile, Scully speaks with Sharon, who kinda looks like the werewolf from The Howling. Sharon tells Scully Max and herself had some kind of alien doohickey that was in 3 parts. Max had one, she had another, and the third, well, it appears to be a prize at the airport that Mulder's going to redeem his proof of purchase for. You think these guys want it too? Mulder gets led through the back way because he has his Eras Tour VIP pass, but he's oddly relaxed for a man that's currently being chased.
No. Mulder, listen to me. Do not handle it. Whatever it is, it's...
By now, Scully should know that telling Mulder not to do something only makes him want to do it more.
More people are trying to get their hands on this thing than a Tickle Me Elmo doll. I'm getting on a flight.
Remember how nuts people went over that damn Tickle Me Elmo doll in the 90s? You had some poor Walmart employee get trampled because of one, and even worse, a pet chimpanzee attacked his owner's friend because she was holding his favorite Elmo doll, and then proceeded to tear off her face. And no, I did not make that up. Anyways, Mulder gets on the flight and tells Scully she'll need to meet him when he lands. Oh, but would you look who it is? The worst part is the guy tries to start up some small talk with Mulder. Look, buddy, I hate talking to random people on flights or trains, so could you just do me a small favor and shut it?
There's a weapon pointed at you right now.
Are you sure it's a weapon and you're not just happy to see him? Look, Mulder isn't dumb. He pays attention when Scully talks and remembers that Scully told him she shot Pendrell's killer in the leg. I don't really think it matters if Mulder does have his gun pointing at the guy. It seems like he's willing to die in order to destroy whatever the hell that alien object is. Mulder moves Geraldo into the bathroom, but no one finds it odd that he's just locked this guy in there. Mulder calls Scully to tell her he's got their guy, but as soon as he does, Mulder notices the time on his watch has stopped, which can only mean one thing. He needs to replace the battery.
Put the bag down!
Now how the hell did he get out? Mulder clearly blocked the door with a cart on wheels that could easily be pushed. Don't worry though, it looks like another UFO has arrived, so everything should be fine. I mean, just look how things turned out last time. Oh shit. Geraldo picks up the bag and Mulder actually tries helping him, because he knows all the aliens want is what's inside. So if he just lets them have it, then he'll be fine. Except he doesn't listen, and when the plane lands, he's nowhere to be found.
Where is he?
He's not here.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do you mean? He's not here. The guy caught another flight. I'm sorry, but was Skinner supposed to be saying something here? Well, Mulder, good luck explaining to Skinner where their suspect went. This is kind of like the Twilight Zone episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, except instead of a gremlin that only one person sees, it's Geraldo. Mulder and Scully say their goodbyes to Sharon, who is suddenly out of the mental institution now, and is the sole owner of all of Max's stuff, I guess.
You thinking about Pendrell?
I realized I didn't even know his first name.
Oh shit, that's gotta sting. Poor guy was in love with this woman, and she barely even knew he existed. Tempest Fugit and Max are a good solid two-part mythology arc. I like that the story is pretty self-contained and nothing gets too crazy. It is, however, kind of a downer. First, you've got the death of Pendrell, who was a decent little side character. It was always fun to watch him get flustered when he was around Scully, because I think at one point or another, we've all been in his shoes. Secondly, you have the death of Max. His character would have been a nice addition to the lone gunman, or even just another person Mulder could turn to every now and then. What is really heartbreaking is just how tortured his life was. The guy just never knew peace. At any given moment, on any given day, he could be taken and experimented on by creatures from another planet. There was no hiding from them, there was no fighting them. He was always at their mercy and never knew what would happen next. It's silly to think about now, but being abducted by aliens was one of my biggest fears as a kid. Luckily, it never happened. At least to my knowledge anyways. But poor Max had to worry about it day in and day out. And to top it all off, he ends up dying in one of the worst ways imaginable. At least when he was being abducted, he likely wasn't there mentally. He was in some kind of trance, but as soon as the UFO was shot down, he got flung out into the darkness of the night, and I'm sure he was conscious for the whole thing. You can really feel how much Mulder cares about him too throughout both episodes. They share a lot in common. Even though Mulder wasn't the one abducted in his situation, people still treat both of them like they're nuts.
And the worst part is, no one believes you. Almost no one.
For one reason or another, the producers decided to kill off Pendrell. Why exactly, I have no idea. But Brendan Beiser, who played him, wasn't exactly happy when he found out. And who can blame him? You get an acting gig on one of the biggest shows at the time, only to find out you're getting killed off after only your 9th appearance? But at least he got to pretend that he had a crush on Scully, because in reality, he really did have a crush on Jillian. Brendan has even said that he had to calm himself down when he was around her because he could feel the nerves and heat build up inside him, and when not filming, he really didn't know how to act around her. I can totally feel him because I would probably be the exact same.
Keep up the good work.
Hey, thanks. Keep it up yourself.
The scene in the lake at the beginning of the episode was filmed in a tank in Vancouver. A lot of shows and movies do this as it's easier to work with, but the tank was very small and the actors only had 10 to 12 feet to move around in. Wide-angle lenses were used on the cameras to make it feel like the actors were in a much larger body of water than they really were. Once the action made its way to the land, the Canadian weather was not cooperating with the shoot and was very cold and very wet. This caused the actors to all get very tired when shooting, which is pretty noticeable in how Mulder moves. Although I think it works because he was just diving underwater, which is something he has never done before, and that can take a lot out of you. Director Kim Manners pointed out that David had trouble running away from his captors in the scene because of the weather, when in the episode Tunguska, he had no problem outrunning some horses. The alien abduction scene where Max is taken was shot on 2 different sets. First, there was a real flight simulator that was used for the cockpit scene, and then the fake airplane set that was built so they could rocket back and forth like it was going through turbulence. Scott Bellis' character Max was levitated out of the plane with the use of a harness and wires. But when it came time to really pull Max out, well, that was all done with a stuntman. The scene near the end when Mulder meets Geraldo on the plane, whose name was actually Scott Garrett, John Sheehan wrote a piece of dialogue for Scott that was inspired by a speech given by Orson Welles in the movie The Third Man.
You see the lights? Now imagine if one of those lights flickered off.
Look down there. Would you really feel any pity if one of those dots stopped moving forever?
Max currently sits at 8.4 on IMDb, and I think an 8 sounds about right for the two-parter as a whole. Up next, we have an interesting episode when an old man begins freezing people with a chemical compound that shouldn't even exist yet. In the episode, Synchrony. So what do you think of Tempest Fugit and Max? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great week and stay spooky!
Sunday, Agent Mulder uncovers our government's most terrifying conspiracy.
What collided with Flight 549 was a UFO.
You found it?
And exposing the truth
Mulder, listen to me. It is highly radioactive.
could cost him his life.
Drop the bag!
A brand new X-Files, Sunday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.